the lead comes in and it pings into the inbox of the franchise recruitment person, and people can react in so many different ways. You've got people that, the lead, straight on the phone within 3 seconds. You could be thinking about in terms of, it works for me, I want more of me to start. You need another 2 or 3 different ones to look at. And it's just looking then in terms of how do you want your network to grow. The crucial thing is understanding what good looks like for a franchisee. So as a franchisor, when you look at your existing network, what does good look like? Who are the successful people? What are those traits? And then coming up with 2 or 3 different avatars, personas that you can use. So those 2 bits right at the early stages are the bits where momentum can be lost most of the time because there's not enough trust, not enough information to make them want to take it to the next step.
Hello, welcome to the Franchise Marketing Show. Today we are joined by the Grand Fromage, the big cheese of coconut, Mr. Paul Clegg. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
What are we talking about today? We're talking about the franchise recruitment process.
We're going to have a walk through all things franchise recruitment as in terms of the process itself, although I prefer to call it journey. The word process is just a little bit more systematic. I think it needs to be more of a personal journey. So we'll go through that in terms of what it good looks like. But we'll also talk a few of my views and hopefully some, at the end, some ideas and thoughts which I think can help add value and engagement to the journey that we get.
Cool. Where do you want to start? Where does the franchise recruitment process start?
Yeah, well, right at the very beginning where a lead comes from. And that's the thing about it really, and with lead generation, because obviously no journey, no system, no process can start if you haven't got anybody that is going to be into that part of the journey. So we'll start right back at the beginning in terms of how do you find those people? What does good look like? What it is that you need? And that's the best place to really have a thought, because I've seen it over the years. I've been with Coconut and another connection to the franchise sector where people can waste so much money just going out, getting leads, but they're the wrong sort, they're the wrong people, and they've just thought about in terms of what messaging they're putting out, where they're putting those messages, and it just makes them busy.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be busy.
So how do they get around that? How do they find the right people? How do they put those messages in the right place?
And the crucial thing is understanding what good looks like for a franchisee. So as a franchisor, when you look at your existing network, what does good look like? Who are the successful people? What are those traits? And then coming up with 2 or 3 different avatars, personas that you can use, because they're the people that you're going to picture in your mind when you're doing your marketing, when you're doing this journey, this process, whatever you want to call it, going through. And things that can set that apart really are the skill sets that they've got. What kind of skills are they? Sales driven, or what is it that drives them? And their personality traits. You can be looking at ages in terms of where they fit in your spectrum of age groups of the existing network. But also it could be in terms of, do they need any qualifications? And it also, one of the other things to look at as well is are they from? Are you going into the franchise sector? Is that where you find them, where they could come from anywhere, any background, any sector, any skill set, but you've got the core ones that are yours? Or, which is more and more common as that is getting a little bit slow over these last few years, is it from the sector you operate in? So if you're in printing, or from the printing sector, the farm logistics sector, that's another area, the second pond, if you like, where they'll have more experience of what you do, but it's different communication process.
So would they look at their existing franchisees to work out what they are?
That's always this recommendation from our side is to look at those guys who are good performers, on brand, on model. So they're the people that you'd say, if I could get more of them, I'll be very, very pleased. Can I duplicate those people, please? Let's make a network full of those people. And let's just see what it is. But there might be also things you're thinking about as well, because you may have a male-dominated network and you want to get females in it. You may have quite an old generation of network and you want to get some younger people to come through. So you've got to think, how do you do that as well in terms of what are the personas, avatars for those type of people as well?
Yeah.
And then if you're just starting out, would you just kind of look at how you can replicate that by looking at me, how I can replicate me to see how I can get the first few?
It is, and that's the thing, because you can't, because we recommend on but you actually look at your network, and sometimes you can get somebody like us independently to go and do questionnaires and help you form those personas. There's two bits, because the new bit could be you are a new franchisor, or it could be you're in a new cycle within your existing franchisor where you're wanting to change. So either of those there, then maybe your network isn't the ideal starting point, and you've got to be thinking based on a specification, if you like, and a lot of people come up with a specification bit where they can write on all the different things about incomes, the background, the skills. Do they need a qualification to be able to do it, like they do in care or HR or accountants? Those kind of things. What I need or a driving license. If they're driving, but funny enough, if that happens sometimes, you get all the way to the end and say, okay, I'll go and do my driving test now. Not really. I have learned from experience on others, yeah. But yeah, you could be thinking about in terms of, it works for me, I want more of me to start. Where you need another 2 or 3 different ones to look at. And it's just looking then in terms of how do you want your network to grow? So do you want a younger generation? Do you need males, females, in terms of how this is going to work? What kind of background, like a full-time, part-time? And then, because the whole purpose of this is not just to say I've got this avatar. Some people do know them, Jane.
Yeah.
So we've got this picture of what Jane looks like. But now you can start to thinking, where is she? What kind of news is she getting? Where is she getting more information? Where she's hanging out to get the things that she want to do for the next stage? Where's this buying from? And that's the crucial bit, because that bit there is what you're taking into the marketing.
So what kind of things should you be thinking once you've got your avatar? What is the next stage?
The next stage, then, is thinking, where are I? That is that marketing stage.
Yeah.
And that's the bit where you're thinking, within the franchising sector, how do I talk to those? They've set up 3. Let's talk to those 3 avatars in the franchising sector. How do we market to those guys? So the franchise portals, the Google Ads, Facebook marketing. What kind of tone? What kind of imagery? And imagery is crucial. And how do we work that best? And they're going to read it, because you've only got to think how you do it when you're looking at your social media, in terms of how quickly do you flick through what's there. If you're not talking in the right tone, if you're not talking in the right way they're going to do it, the visuals aren't right because they're going to see the picture first and the text. How are you going to get their attention in all this crazy noise that's out there at the moment?
And it's only going to get worse with AI slop coming through as well.
There is more call, because the timing is there, is, and you've got to be more genuine, more engaging. And the only way you can do that is to understand that avatar in terms of what they do, read, want, and want to be communicated.
Yeah, and it's consistent across a number of different platforms as well.
Yes, and that's the thing, is again, is which platforms are there?
Yeah.
So you got to think about all those things. And so the franchising sector, obviously, you got all the profiles as well that you can go to that are out there to focus and market on there. And you've got to think how you can get the message across for your avatars on one profile. So sometimes you have to do a mix of things, or you are brave enough and say, we're looking for these kind of people, bang, bang, bang. And you can do that as well. And to be able to, depending on what suits your brand best. And then from that, you've got the other bit, which is your pond, which is your sector. So where are people in the sector going to be looking and wanting to consider opportunities? Is that emails, is it databases, are there shows within your sector that you can go and showcase, look, you could be part of our network and do this yourself if you want to run your own business. So you've got to think all those things through. So there's a lot to think about.
So once you've got their attention and they know who you are, what's the next stage after that?
There's a decision-making process that they go through. It's like anything. You think how important that decision for them is. And that's the thing for the whole recruitment journey. Sometimes franchisors and recruitment teams forget there's a person who is making a life-changing decision here, is probably putting their life savings into trusting you as a franchisor to change their future. And we've got to remember that as we go along that journey, to help them build trust, build understanding. And we've got to use that responsibility wisely so that we make sure that they make the right choice. If we're not the right choice as a franchisor for them, then we need to be telling them we don't think this is right.
Yeah, be upfront and honest if it's not the right thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this whole journey in terms of when we talk about a little bit into the actual steps that you go through it, is how do you do those steps? How do you get those touch points once that lead comes through? At this stage, what they're doing is a lot of is research. So they're going to go out to Google, other search engines are available, but they're going to use, we've got to see AI, the bits that are on Google and in other locations. So you need to be with the right information you've got in those locations to build the trust and next step part of the process. It'll do that quite a few times. They'll go back to it. They'll go searching. They'll probably even search to page 3, 4 of Google. They'll look for reviews. They'll look for social proofs.
Yeah.
They'll go onto your social media. They'll go onto your website if they find a few that you like, and they'll go and look at the blogs, comments, all that kind of stuff. And what they're looking for is consistency.
Yeah.
They want to know that you are consistent with your messaging. The messaging is good. It's telling you the truth. And the way I look at it as I go on that journey is they want to make a change.
Yeah.
So they may choose your brand, whichever one it is as a franchisor, and they're saying, please don't upset me. Give me ticks of confidence as I go along and trust that I can go along that journey to become a franchisee. So if you don't do your social media or messaging is inconsistent, that's not a tick, and they may go and look somewhere else. So there's a lot of unseen things they will be doing in that decision-making process is validation for trust and credibility that we perhaps don't see. But you've got to be in there. And as a brand, a franchisor and a franchise recruitment team, you've got to make sure the right sort of information is accessible without them touching it.
So in terms of reviews, I'm going to give you a weird analogy now, but I think it's relevant. So when I was buying a telescope for my son over Christmas, I was looking at the good reviews, but also the bad reviews as well, but also who left the bad reviews. Were they relevant to people who were actually buying it? Would they know how good the product was in the long term rather than just, oh yeah, it worked for 5 minutes? So I think it's really important to make those reviews relevant. So to look at good reviews to see if they're just sort of surface level stuff, or the bad reviews, like how they've dealt with the bad reviews. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And a lot of the time, the reason for looking at the reviews is because they've got positive momentum to want to go further. So they will look at that and think, okay, that's giving me a question to ask later.
Yeah.
If you've got reviews, you've got that consistency, they will still go further because it's a tick because of what you're doing. And most of the time, if the potential and the positive momentum is great, they'll use that and say, okay, that's a question I want to ask. And that's what they're trying to get at the moment, is that balancing act. Can you be trusted? Are you good at what you do? Is this something I want to be part of? And you've got to keep ticking those as they go along. So there might be things like that, but you just put it on your list to ask.
Yeah.
So again, FAQs are really important getting done on this, not just actually print form, video format, everything that the common things that the franchise recruitment person talks about is brilliant to have those on your website, have those on your videos, socials, and everywhere you can have those. Because it is also that one of those single sources of truth that AI would pick up on when it scrapes and goes into AI search and research, that hopefully will come up and give you that credibility as well. So it's all about getting that together until they get to that point where they're saying, actually, I'm going to put my hand up now and I'm going to, which location source it comes from, I'm going to ask them more information.
So once they've done that, once they've made contact, how do you guide them through the next bit?
We get into that, the actual stages of the franchise recruitment journey. And there's various ones that we can look at. And the first one really is the point where the lead comes in and it pings into the inbox of the franchise recruitment person. And people can react in so many different ways. You've got people there's a lead, straight on the phone within 3 seconds. Some people have a time frame when they come in. Yeah. It always trigger an acknowledgement now, or should do, with some form of information. Yeah. And there's different bits of information that people can put out at that point, depending on how you want to communicate. Because there's two thoughts really in terms of what you should do. Is you want to give them all information up front, let them make a decision, and have an informed person starting in your journey. The other school of thought is you give them enough information to be confident to come and have a chat with you, so you can then handhold them through that process. I prefer the second school of thought because on the first one, have you ever read an email that somebody gives you and then think, let's got it now. You don't need to anymore asking no questions. But sometimes I can send that same email to another person and they can read it a completely different way.
You read your own tone into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the understanding, and what you can do as well is you will read the facts. Now, franchising is a very much a people person type of relationship network sector. And if they think they've got all the information they need, they don't need to ask more questions, you're trying to get hold of them, what are they going to do? I don't need to talk to you because I know it all, and I've got to make a decision on that. The bit they're missing on is the bit where you get the personality, you get the culture, you get the enthusiasm. You miss all that bit out because they don't get to talk to you as the franchise recruitment person. They don't get to talk to the brand. And that's the bit where you've got to try and give them enough for them want to take your call. So you give them enough trust, information, you give them enough just to get them to say, I want to talk to you now. You've given me sufficiently enough in all the FAQs and the information you've given me to talk to you more, to find out more. It's worth having that chat. And that's the bit, getting to that level. And people these days, it's a bad lead if they don't talk. My view is that one of the big reasons they're not talking to you is you haven't given them enough information yet to build that trust to have that conversation with you, because they're expecting you to sell. Because you're not going to say anything bad about it. You're going to be good. And they're still in that research process to thinking, how good are you? So you've got to give them enough them to think they can get the social proofs elsewhere, they can get their confidence elsewhere, and say, right, I'm ready to ask more questions. Let's see what they've got to say.
So at that point, are you trying to find out more information about them, or are they trying to find out more information about you?
Yes, that first call information one is two-way.
Yeah.
They want to know more, but you want to know more about them. So you will have some key qualifying questions that you want on that initial call. And in a brutal way, it's almost thinking, I'm going to ask these questions to see if you are good enough to join our network.
So you're kind of pushing away a little bit. So you're kind of pushing away to get them to...
To understand if they are there, or to give them more questions so that they can fulfill that before. So the key ones are obviously finance. If you're nowhere near, then there's no point taking that conversation forward. Unless when you speak to them, the other key skills, the drive, the personality, the background that they've got, it gives you that thought of, actually, they could make this work and you could develop this a little bit more. But you'll have, normally we say, 5 key questions that you've got there, that you answer it. And you're then looking to say, okay, brilliant, I think you've got potential to do this journey. These are the next steps that we're going to go through. That's what you need to do through the process, is give them that next step.
Okay, and then after that stage?
After that stage, so you'll send them a prospectus out, you'll give them they've
passed all the ticks.
So they've tick all those key boxes, and you gave them the prospectus. They'll come back to you, and you're going to get into discovery meeting, discovery day, whatever you call it. Normally you sign an NDA before you get into that point as well, and ask them to complete that. And an initial application form. And I say initial because I've seen applications form where they ask so much personal information, financial information at this stage, that I think it scares a lot of people off.
Yeah.
If you think you're interested in, well, you don't know me, we just had one telephone call. It's not something I feel comfortable.
I feel when my mortgage comes out for review and they're looking at all my transactions, I'm like, I'm terrified.
But there's talking about finance stuff when we don't know each other yet. You need to build that just a little bit further down from it. So this bit here is, there are other ways of doing the application form to get the information you need in terms of their background, the skill sets, all that kind of stuff that you want to be able to gather now to assess if they're the right kind of person, and come back to that second application form for the financials when you are a lot closer together and trust each other more.
So you mentioned NDA there. I was working with someone recently who set up a business, and someone else set up a rival business and copied them. And even the logos were similar. And
it is, you put so much effort, time into that business, and you want to protect that side of the business at that point. Discovery is the time when you've got the opportunity to really showcase what it is all about, in terms of the model itself, what success looks like, what they need to do, and build the relationship even more, give them a chance to ask those questions. And that's your opportunity as the franchise recruitment team to show them really this journey they're going on, not just now physically, but where this could go in the future.
Yeah.
And that's the crucial thing, because after this, people will make, not necessarily a final decision, but they can make some key decisions here in terms of, the most final one is, actually, no, it's not for me. The not so finer one is, I like this, I want to find out more. So that's what that role there is not being too over the top salesy, because each time you're just talking and giving a bit to get to the next stage. So you're not wanting them to sign up from your discovery. You wanted them to say, I like what I'm hearing, let's continue on this journey.
So at this stage, would they be talking to the existing franchisees as well? Is that
That would come the next stage. So after you've done the discovery, you're moving to the stage which is due diligence. So you've told them loads of stuff. They found loads of stuff. Now they're going to try and find people, things, processes, locations, sources of information to back that up, which is what the franchise recruitment person wants to be able to do. And a good source of that is the network of franchisees you've got already. It's the franchise recruitment person's strongest recruitment tool, but also the most dangerous, because you have no control over what they're going to say. You can say, go and talk to these people. You can talk to this people. This is what good looks like. You can talk to this person because they match your background. And you can talk to a whole host of different people along in between in terms of performance. It's sometimes seeing what good looks like and what not so good looks like can actually be beneficial, because it helps you to have a conversation about what you need to do to be successful.
But they'll say the good and the bad, the ugly stuff, and you've got no control over it.
You haven't. But you can give them the names, but all they've got to do is go on the internet, find where all the franchises is, and give them a rank. Yeah. So it's a hard one to control. That's why looking after your network, making them successful, is crucial to them to recruit.
Have you heard any stories at that stage where a franchisee is totally trashed?
Not only you don't know the reason for it, but if it is really bad, you will know. And yes, I've come across stories where they've been completely put off, but it doesn't always have to be the completely put off, because if you do get the opportunity to reflect, there's always a reason why it went that way.
I think you want to hear the negative stuff as well as the positive stuff. If it was all positive, I'd be kind of like, oh, this feels weird.
What's the first thing that's going to happen when they go to a network meeting and they see that people actually, the whole network isn't singing the praises of the franchisor? So being honest about the issues you face, and there are people having some different scenarios within that, is a delicate conversation to have. But if you can position it in the right way to build the strength of that brand and where it's going. But you just have to balance that out really from that side. But it does give you, the due diligence is a really good time of building on that trust and confidence. So putting thought in how you do that, what do you want them to see, where can they go for that information? And most of the time they'll want that as external sources to you, because what you're going to say, you're going to say it's good. So they've got to go and find that information from all the different places. And they'll go further onto online search again, but they'll have more detail now, because they'll know the model, they'll know the process a bit more. So they can go and do some more research on the actual location. They can go, what does the opportunity actually look like there? So doing around competitors and do competitive search as well to see if that fits, and come back with the question is, there's already people here. So what does that do to impact the model that I'm working and trying to develop? Because they want to know the customers are there. What's happened, obviously, with all the changes in our financial business climate, and things are a little tight in certain sectors. And so they want to know, when they're coming and doing this big move, have I got customers? Are the franchisees making money because of what I'm hearing? And insecurity and uncertainty and change are the biggest factors that slow people out moving from where they are, regardless if they're not feeling comfortable or got to make a change, until they get more confidence in the future they're seeing as a franchisee, they'll stay where they are. So you've got to build that confidence as you go through this and say, look, yes, we know this, it is this, or we have got customers.
I think that would vary wildly as well, though, depending on what franchise you were,
what sector
you're in. Exactly, yeah.
Because certain sectors fly, certain sectors not, and you're up and down. But the thing is if you can showcase, we'll do case studies or get them to talk to franchisees who have been through this and doing really well.
Yeah.
And if they've got the similar sort of background to them, that is an amazing chance for them to say, actually, I can see myself doing it. Yeah. A lot of the marketing that you do, however you do it, online, offline, it's all about the prospect looking at what they're seeing, reading that and thinking, I could do that. That's something I can see myself doing that. And that's the whole reason the marketing has to go around the avatars so that they can see themselves in the network doing what the network does.
Cool.
So what's next?
After you've done the due diligence is where you can go into that next application now, because we've started doing it. They've gone out, looked, checked, happy. So when you start building the business plan, we can start doing the finance application if you need finance, because you're starting to get a point now where I'm thinking, yes, I really want to do this. We've ticked those boxes as we go along. Confidence and trust has been building. So let's go to those points. Actually, I'm going to do this. At that point there, after due diligence, the things that can put it off really are going to be, I'm not happy with the agreement. Not happy with the actual territory, or some things change on that journey, but they get less and less and less as you get down. For you to want to go to the bank, that's quite a big step. It's just a buying signal from both sides, and you as a franchisor need to make sure you've got that down as best you can. So you've got contacts, you've got schemes, the banks know what you're doing, you've got business applications that you can help them put together here to do the finance. Make it as easy as possible.
So if the bank can see that it's working everywhere,
Building a relationship with the franchise guys in the banks is a good step to do. So when somebody comes on, you've got a great network, they're more likely to fund better percentages for you. So you're getting through all the processes. Franchise agreement goes out. We always recommend that obviously they take that to a franchise lawyer, not just a solicitor who would look at it independently, because they're going to learn about franchising. So the VFA website, we are specialists, find the lawyers are there that specialise in franchise agreements, and it'll go a whole lot smoother, because they are very different, and you don't be paying for time to learn franchise.
you want someone who knows what they're talking about, and they do it time and time again.
Yeah. So point them to the VFA website where they can go get a lawyer who can give them that franchise advice and help them to understand how they are written, because the franchise agreement is all about clarification in terms of the responsibilities of both people. So they need to understand the franchisor doesn't do anything. They've got to work at it. But there are things that the franchisor will do to make sure that work is successful in terms of the way they build the model. And it's understanding the risks within that franchise agreement. And after you've done that one, it's normally into head office for you to meet the team, start to have those final discussions before you get to the point where your finance is approved, and you'll get to then seeing somebody who will have the final say if you are going to be a franchisee, and you will have that final opportunity to say, yes, I am, if you do it. Although some people say no.
After that,
I've seen that before, yes. Gone through everything from that side, and then somebody independent has looked at it and said, I'm not sure this is for you. Some people go away, prove it, and come back and do it because they want to do it so much. Some people say, actually, okay, I'll walk away.
After that point,
It's just your big decision, Mark. That's the deal with it. You've got to get it right. And the thing about being honest all the way through this
I
journey.
think the more honest you are, the better, really. I mean, you're protecting yourself if you're putting barriers up.
Yeah, and if you speak to any franchisor that you have who's got quite a large network, they will tell you people as they look through and they're thinking, I'm not sure how they made that decision or why we made that decision on that individual, because they're not right for it. But once you're in, it's very difficult for the franchisee, and it's very difficult for the franchisor, and it can impact the network. So that's why this whole journey that you go on to get the right people into your network and to get the prospect, help them make the right decision, is so crucial, because it is life-changing positive, but also life-changing difficult.
So as a franchisor, you're protecting yourself down the road if you're...
Your responsibilities go beyond just yourself.
Yeah.
You are building a network which impacts all the people, all the franchisees in your network. So as a franchisor, you're responsible for all those people as well. The brand, the strength, because if you get something in it goes negative, it's just not your business. It's all those franchisees that get impacted as well. So you've got a lot of things you need to think about along that journey. And sometimes you're chasing a number. We need to recruit 6, 10, 20 people this year. And if you focus on that, you can lose sight sometimes of focusing on recruiting the right people that are going to take your business forward. The problem is your operations guys are not going to thank you. They're not going to thank you as a prospect, because they're always battering because they don't quite fit. Actually, and then finally they sign off and it's done. That's the journey done. But there's a whole host of things you can use to help you through that journey. It's a people process. We've got to remember the people. We've talked about that. But it doesn't mean you don't use automations to help you through the journey in terms of how do you get your the messages out to those guys? How do you know when's the best time to talk to them? And using AI, using automation to put inside CRM systems, a good way of doing it. But you've got to use them to get rid of the mundane. You've got to use them to give you more time to engage and build that trust with the prospects going through the journey. That's the crucial thing, is, as we've said, is getting that bit right. So use the systems and processes to help. And I have heard people saying, you can go all the way through this journey without actually speaking to a person. And I would say, really?
Yeah.
And they'll certainly like that. It's a good thing to do. And I just don't think it is.
You want real people, don't you?
You want real people. It's a people process. The network are real people. You want to make sure that person comes over the culture and has the right skills to be able to do what they're doing. Not just, their capability, but the way that they have the emotional intelligence, the way they can work with other people, their drive. And without having those conversations along that journey, they don't get a chance to build the trust properly, I don't think. You don't get a chance to do the assessments properly either side. So you've got to build that in and use the technology that's there to help you make better judgment assessments or reduce the time that you're doing boring admin. And there's a whole host of things there in terms of red flags as well that you've got to be wary that you might be giving out if you are too pushy, too salesy. And the other thing as well is if you are not authentic in this noisy word that we talked about, it'll stand out a mile. That's kind of commitment that this demands. Want to know that you are telling the truth, that you are authentic in your messaging, your talking, and your actions. And it's those things have got to come together for them to make that choice. And where things are a little bit more tougher now, there's more demand on making sure that that's right. Because inconsistency of messaging, which is easy to do, in terms of timing, or the message itself can be a cross instead of a tick. So if they go onto your social media pages, whatever it is, and you haven't posted in the last 3 months, or you do 3 posts, and then there's 1 post, and then there's nothing, and it's going to be a question mark rather than a tick. If they go onto the website, there's no information, no blogs, there's nothing that they can go to in the last 2 months, 3 months, or again, it's inconsistent. It's not going to be a tick, it's a question mark or a cross. If they've got other people to go to, and they're doing it, because they want to find out more information in this state, they're going to go elsewhere. Lack of or difficult to make contact. So you are their point of contact. And if they can't get hold of you, they can't talk to you, or it's very difficult to, or they can't get information out of you, they'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, you're eroding the trust.
Because they want intonation. They want to find out where they can get it from. If they can't get it from you, they want to know exactly how would they build this decision. So that's one of the key things they do. If the numbers don't make sense, when they start get the business planning stage, they look at it, they do the due diligence and think, I can't see how that works. And if you can't show them, then that's another biggie. So you're not laying out clearly what the steps are. You're not taking them through something, and it just seems a bit crazy. That's going to think, what's it going to be like if here they're trying to get me on board and they can't look after me going through this in an organised way? What's it going to be like when I'm in? So again, it's not building the trust in the model and the process to actually be successful if you can't show them something which takes them on a thoughtful and well thought out journey of information to becoming a franchisee. And the one other area that I think is quite interesting to think about is this, where in the pipelines people lose the momentum as a franchise recruitment person. And there's 2 bits really that jump out at me having done that, but also talking with a lot of franchise recruitment people who do it at Coconut. There are a lot of people out there who will just change their telephone number. There are a lot of people out there, even if you've got their telephone number, won't pick it up when you ring, and you quickly write that off as a bad lead. But a lot of the time, they're waiting for you to give you the information to help them make that chat before I talk to you. I'm still doing my due diligence behind the scenes of that decision-making process we talked about right back at the very beginning. So they're saying at that point there, I'm not ready for you yet. And then the franchise recruitment person will lose interest. They're not sending the information. They haven't got a nurturing email chain in place. They're not doing newsletters to talk to them. You just forget about them. And the second bit is after that initial conversation where you've asked those key questions, where there's not enough trust built, confidence or information has been a little bit haphazard, and you haven't given them enough for them to fill in the application forms. You've got to give them something for them to want to give you something back, which is the application form, make at its turn. Yeah. So you've got to make sure you give them enough there to get them to want to come to discovery. So those 2 bits right at the early stages are the bits where momentum could be lost most of the time because there's not enough trust, not enough information to make them want to take it to the next step. So focus on giving that should make those little bits more successful. Yeah.
Is there a way if they're not ready yet, a way of keeping contact with them until they are ready?
I look at this like your house insurance. It comes up most of the time once a year for a year. Or people send you an information about house insurance all for the year, but you will not pay any attention to it until a month before when you're thinking, actually, I'm ready to be able to make a decision now. And you don't know when their decision point is going to come, where they feel the pain, they want to shift. So what you're going to try and do is be in their inbox, in their messaging, in their socials, just as they're wanting to think, oh, okay, I'm ready to make a decision now.
Cool.
A lot to talk about.
A lot of detail there.
Oh, thank you. But the crucial thing overall that people have got to remember is it's a people journey. It's about the people, the engagement. Systems can help you do that, but don't forget that person who is making a life-changing decision and trusting you with their futures.
Well, yeah, thank you for coming on the show. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment if you've got any questions as well. And we will see you in the next episode of the Franchise Marketing Show. Goodbye.